I used to compare myself with women. We were all 20 years old. Why do women always get what they want when they're this young, while I was still a useless loser that was addicted to video games and had zero achievement in my life? And when I looked at women, they were living the best of their life. Many hot women, when they were 20 years old, they were able to travel around the world, buy whatever they want, having sex with a top male. Even in my university, women tend to get the higher grade when they actively interact with a male professor. The prettiest or the most talkative woman always get higher grade than me. And all I could do was quietly study in my corner and pray that I don't fail this course. Why is there such a big difference while we're still in the same age? Why can't we just be like women, having whatever we want when they're 20 years old, spending the money, enjoy our time, having sex with whoever we can? Why can't we be just like them? So back in the time, I was so jealous about them. I was so jealous about their lifestyle, wondering how long am I going to take to live like them. And also back then I thought men and women are equal. And if women deserve all these good things in their life when they're 20s, and then men should have the same thing when they're 20s. But the reality is that if you compare the lifestyle with men and women, how different are they, when they're in the university? And even some of the women that I know in my class were able to date the man that has the income over 10,000 a month. They were able to date the guy living in the top of society. And as a man, when we are in university, we did not even start to create a value for society. Men in university don't even have the income, and women in the university were far beyond our league. And this phenomenon is completely based on the sexual market value between men and women. The reality is that men's value started to increase after they were 30 years old, because men's value has a large portion that is largely dependent on his achievement. When men want to create value for society, they have to go through a long journey to build the necessary skill set. So men's success, men's achievement takes a very long time. So that's why men's value, most of the men's value, if they work hard, they're going to increase from when they're 25 years old, but it's going to eventually reach the prime age of 30 years old. But if we see the sexual market value for the women, they're going to increase when they're 15 years old, and they're going to be ended at 30 years old. That's the prime age of the woman. Especially from 18 to 24, this is the highlight of the woman. This is the period that the woman has the highest sexual market value. From 18 to 24, this time is their prime. They're able to date whoever they want. If they went to the nightclub, they have all the attention from men. And so from this period of time, most of the women is going to live the best of their life, because that's how men and women are biologically made. Men are not supposed to be successful until he hit 30 years old, because men's value has so many variations and so much potentials that is going to reveal with the progress of time. The men can do so many things. Men can be an engineer, men can be a designer. Men are capable of being the elite in any single region in society. And these things are all going to increase their value. When we see the value of women, they're very simple. Only face and physique. That claims most of it, and also small portion of the education. Since their sexual market value is only dependent on the look for women, that means their sexual market value is largely restricted by their age. And they can't do anything about it when they pass their prime year. When they're 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, most of the women is going to turn from a very arrogant person to a humble person, because they are past their prime and they no longer receive the attention from men, and they are going to be soon replaced by the next generation of the younger women. All the highlight, all the prime are squeezed into this year from 18 to 24. That's it. And it's like a firework. And when they pass their prime, it's done and they lose everything. But then if we see how the sexual market value for men is going to be very different compared to women, because men's sexual marketplace has a large portion depend on his hard work, depend on his skill set, depend on his look, and depend on his status. Men can improve their value in a much more wider way, and men can use much more various way to improve and maintain his value, which means that the improvement of man's sexual market value is very slow, but its sexual market value is also going to reduce in a much slower speed compared to women. And then if we see the prime age of man, it's going to start by 30 years old and it's going to last very long. It's probably going to last from 30 to 50 years old. You know, these 20 years of time, if you have money, if you have physique, if you can still maintain your look and you have sufficient of money, it's going to be your prime year and it's going to last very long. So when we're young, when we're 20 years old, we should never compare ourselves with women because we have to realize the fact of the sexual marketplace. From 18 to 24 years old, from women, is their prime age. That's all they have in their life. Their whole life, their whole highlight, their prime, all the luxury lifestyle, all their achievement are entirely depend on these years. And when they pass these years, they're done. They no longer receive any attention from men. And that's the end of their life. And that's why many women started to have depression after they're 29 years old. Once they get used to all this luxury lifestyle, it's very hard from them to face the reality when they lose all their sexual market value. And for men, all of our value are entirely made by ourselves. So once the value is ours, it's retained to ours for the lifelong period of time. And how men create value is very different compared to how women create value. Because when we see the women at 20 years old, how can they travel around the world? How can they go to this luxury place? There's only one answer. They're seeking the value from men, right? That's why their value and their self-awareness are very unstable. Many of the women were actually very anxious about their aging because that is directly related the amount of money that they can seek from men. But men build the value by ourselves. It's going to reduce in a much slower pace. When we reach 45 or maybe 50 years old, our value is still likely to decrease, but it's going to decrease in a much slower pace. Once we build all this value by ourselves, it's going to last very long, and man's prime age after 30 years old is going to be very long compared to women. The thing to worry about is not to compare yourself with women when you're 20 years old, because there's nothing to compare. That's all women have. There's no reason to admire for them when they're squeezed their entire life into these 6 years. This time is going to be passed in the blink of an eye. They're very short. Sometimes it made me think that men and women are two completely different species. So there's really nothing that we can compare ourselves with. Because once we reach 30 years old, if we look back at the same woman that we encountered in the university, you will see how different are you guys. Men's sexual market value and women's sexual value are going to reach an intersection. That intersection point is going to be 30 years old. And after 30 years old, you are going to have a much higher value compared to the woman that you always wanted to date when you were in the university. And then after 30 years old, you're starting to have more opportunities, more time, and more resources to reach for the girl in the prime year from 18 to 24. But those years before 30 years old are the years that we build our foundations, that we build our skill sets, that is going to support us in the future to have all these resources. So stop comparing yourself with women, work hard, and invest for your future.